Well, welcome to the National Automobile Museum, the inside story. I'm having a little trouble speaking for some reason, so you can bear with me today. Right, what we want to do is give you inside information about what goes on behind the scenes in the National Automobile Museum. I'm so lucky to have guests with me today, two of the most popular, fun-loving, and just great people to be around that's going to talk to us today about detailing the antique and modern automobiles. A lot of people have a tendency, they go to the store, they see a product on the shelf, say, oh, this is only $1.98, well, I'll buy it. I'm getting a super cheap discount. But you get what you pay for. And one of my favorite peeves is, and you see this all the time, and I'm sure Susie and Leonard, they'll both agree, is that they buy a product without reading the labels. So let me introduce my two favorite friends. Number one, I'd like to introduce Susie. Susie has been with the museum since 2007, and she's our cleaning crew supervisor. She does the detailing to keep the cars in actual mint condition and keeps them up to date so the deterioration of the products of interior, exterior, and woodworking products make it look shiny new. And then we're lucky to have my favorite friend, Leonard. And Leonard, right, I know you're so popular, was that because Leonard started in 2005, correct?
Right.
Dr. Seuss was here. And when Dr. Seuss came in, he met Leonard, and that's what gave us the Grinch. So Leonard, we thank you for being here today, Mr. Grinch. Okay?
I'll try to live up to it.
You'll have no problems. It just comes natural. Leonard, how long have you been here, and what made you decide to get involved with cleaning?
Well, I had started in 2005. I had retired, and we had moved here, and I was looking for something to do, and they needed volunteers at the museum, so I came down here to volunteer. I started as an ambassador, which was a person that greeted people when they came in, answered questions, pointed out places and things. And then the collections manager asked me if I'd like to detail the cars for car shows. And I said, yeah, I've only detailed my own cars. I've never done anything for anybody else. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, I'll train you. And he did.
And what year was that?
That was J. Hubbard.
Yeah, no, what year did he start with the detailing?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, what year? Hello.
Oh,
what century?
2006.
Okay, now let me jump to Susie. Susie's been with us since 2007, I believe?
That's correct, yes.
All right,
Okay.
and why did you become a volunteer, and how did you get into detailing?
I actually came to Reno because my company was one of the sponsors at the Reno Air Races. And so I came out, and they would always have their Saturday night dinner here at the museum, which was very popular. And then when I retired and moved here in the spring of 2007, I came down to the museum to sponsor or to become a volunteer because I wanted a volunteer opportunity here in Reno. So.
Right, and it gives you something to do. I find everybody been working here. I've been here myself since 2010, and it was sheer luck. I moved out to Reno.
Okay.
I came to visit the museum, and at the time I met people, and they said, oh, what did you do? And I gave them my background in the automotive business, that kind of thing, and I've been here ever since. What made you decide to become a volunteer, and then while you're volunteering, to go into detailing? Now, that's some jump, because you usually find most young ladies do not want to do that work.
Okay. My career was in accounting. I was accounting manager and credit officer for the company. So when I retired out here, I started out in the store, which was located in the front, and then I was a backup for admissions. And that works for a lot of people, but it wasn't really working for me after a while, selling the merchant, okay?
You weren't a seat warmer at that point.
That's true. And then the same gentleman who recruited Leonard mentioned to me about detailing because I could get into the cars where a lot of the guys, they like to work in the engine and the exterior, but he said, you need to get in and vacuum and clean the interior. So that's how I started.
Right.
And I enjoyed it.
And you're still doing it for what?
I'm still
15
doing it.
years or something.
Probably.
And I have
Okay.
to say, Leonard trained you. Leonard is the
Leonard
training.
trained me,
He
yes.
trained you exceptionally well.
Everything I know, I owe to Leonard.
Hey,
Okay.
and I agree with that. I learned so much from this man. We have a lot of fun bantering with each other, but the amount of knowledge that you have in detailing and cleaning cars.
Yeah.
So let's bring some of that knowledge to our general public and to our listeners. Wood products, and now we're talking about different paints that started with the turn of the century, 1900, and then as the cars progressed and the evolution of the automobile came about, the paints became about too. The evolution started. So we went from different types of paints. With each type of paint that was used, turn of the century, mid-century, late century, until finally we're at 2025, which is about 125 years later, right? How did chemicals progress? What did we use back then? And what do we use in mid? And what are we using now? Could you just elaborate on the different products that are available that should be used?
Okay. In the beginning, they were building cars just the same way that they built horse-pulled carriages. They were wood, and then they were painted with paints that were probably lead-based enamels to begin with.
Now, they were brushed on at that.
With-
They
yeah.
didn't have spray guns, correct?
Right. And so the polishes they used had to be oil-based, usually animal oil, sometimes linseed, sometimes whale oil, because the wood needed the moisture, otherwise it would start to split.
Now, let me ask you, did the oils penetrate through the paint coating?
Yes.
Right, okay.
And then when they started making cars out of metal, of course, they had to change the molecular content of the paint. And they began using enamels and experimenting with lacquers.
Now, the lacquer didn't come around until what, the 20s, the 30s?
About the 30s. And the biggest problem with lacquer was the cars were metal, and as the metal expanded and contracted, the lacquer would crack.
So it had different expansion rates due to temperature,
Right.
right?
And
heat.
enamels would stretch, but lacquers would crack. And of course, then they started after World War II, after 45, they started using lead-based enamels, which eventually were discarded, and they used water-based enamels, which did not hold up very well.
Or remember, 1973, they started using water-based primers
Yeah.
on these cars because they cheapened up the automotive industry. And then within a year, because they cut your warranties then, down to 1 year, 12,000 miles, and 1 year, 1 hour, 1 minute, the car started to rust through.
Yeah. Yeah, and Chrysler products were probably the worst of that.
No, the General Motors, and I'm a GM guy, okay? All right. So let's talk about the basics started 1900s, the early cars. Before, while they were still wood-based, what kind of product did they use then? Do we have any here to show that we use on our vehicles?
Yeah, what we used mostly were paste waxes.
This is on the early vehicles, the wood, enameled, painted over wood.
Yeah, and these paste waxes, this is a high-tech one, and it's called yellow wax because it's yellow. But the beauty of the paste waxes were they had UV protection built
Now,
into them.
explain what UV is. So you're an expert here. What is UV? People don't understand how that affects different finishes.
Well,
It's a deep subject. You could get wet.
I know. It's like protecting it from the weather and the elements, right?
Yeah, it's-
almost like a sunscreen that
Well,
we put
that's
on
the point,
our
right? So
bodies.
UV
yeah,
is ultraviolet. People don't
yeah.
understand this.
Right.
And with the sun coming down,
Right.
it actually destroys the finish. It causes to break down prematurely, right? The molecules within the paint. Now, I'm just bringing up a fast thing just for edification. Your headlights, the plastic cover headlights.
Oh, yeah.
They're yellow and they oxidize right away. That's
Right.
due to UV. A quick fix, believe it or not, WD-40 on a microfiber glass. If you put it on the plastic lens, if it's not too far deteriorated, you
Yeah.
can rub out the plastic and it brings them back to life. It puts the plasticizers back in the plastic. Then you coat it with a good UV wax. You're on UV wax. I gotcha.
I was going to ask you a question, though. First thing that you mentioned was WD-40, okay? And I know we can use it for a zillion things, okay, and everything, but now I see these products where it comes in a bottle, and it's supposed to be for the headlights and, like refreshing
Plastic
it,
components.
bringing up. Why don't more people just use the WD-40?
Because they
then
don't
with
know.
that?
The chemical
Oh,
companies are
okay.
not going to tell you. These are things that when
Okay.
you're in the business, you talk. And that's one thing I love about networking. I have a lot of friends in different aspects that try this. And I heard about it probably about 10 years ago, about WD-40. A friend of mine told me, because prior to that, you'd get the compound, which is an abrasive cleaning solution.
Right.
Very fine sand particles in it, and you polish it out. And it took time and buffing, but it just took the immediate problem and cleared it off. Just like when you do wax finishes, when you do a compounding on the wax finish to smooth out the finish, but it takes layers off. The WD-40, it's a penetrant. It goes into the pores of the plastic, just like with certain waxes. It goes into the pore and it seals the pores. So it takes that haze and that film and it puts the plasticizers back into the plastic to bring it back to life. So it's a renewal. Spray it, polish it. You may have to do it once or twice. Again, depending on how far the plastic is gone, will determine the clarity you're going to get. And then you use a good UV wax on top of it. Okay, what type of UV wax could any of you suggest to use as a high UV?
I favor the paste waxes that have ultraviolet protection because of the very fact that you mentioned. When you put it on, it gets into the areas that have lost its plasticity, for another word, and it stays there when you polish it. Now, if you buy a car now, they're all plastic lenses.
Everything's plastic.
Everything's plastic.
Everything's plastic.
And what I did, I had to buy new headlights for my truck. The first thing I did when I got them installed is I waxed them. And I wax them every 2 weeks. I go over them. They're not going to fade unless I stop waxing them. And my new car, they're plastic too. I do the same thing because I don't want them hazy like that.
Exactly.
And
It's a preservative.
yeah,
All right.
Every 2 weeks you do this, Leonard? Every 2 weeks
I do my headlights.
every 2 weeks?
Yeah,
And how long does it take? 30 seconds, a minute,
Yeah.
wax on, wax off.
Yeah,
right?
it's
And
easy.
Same thing with the paint finishes. I want to get to the chemicals in a second, getting off topic. Same thing with the paint finishes. It is an investment. You're going to sell that car sometime. And you see a lot of cars on the road, and you see some of the cars that come in on donations. The paint is faded.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
eventually it just fades through to the point that you can't repair it anymore. And that's the purpose of using different types of waxes for different types of applications. And the biggest thing that people do not do is read the label. Okay, let's talk about 1900 cars. What wax, what process, and then we're going to go right up to modern day cars. Let's talk about the products.
well, McGuire's is one of 6 companies that set the standards for car polishes and cleaners. There's over 300 manufacturers in this country that make polishes and
That many,
cleaners.
huh?
Yeah, over 300. It's more like 350. But there's 6 main companies that set the standards. 3M, Turtle Wax, Simon Eyes, McGuire's, Chemical Guys, which I never heard of.
Oh, I use them.
You did?
Yeah, remember, we've had the hard water spots on the vehicles.
Yeah.
And I found this stuff, and I forget who I was talking to. It was a hard water spot remover made just for clear coat cars. And it would take the hard water spots out. You get from the sprinkler system and the sun bakes it on, and you can rub it forever. And remember, we tried that on one of the antique cars. It didn't work,
Right.
right? It ate into the paint. And then when you use it on a modern car, it cleans it up beautifully without destroying the clear coat.
Correct.
So that's going back to reading the label. Will this product work for this application? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Well, that's all right. The introduction of of ceramic waxes, I personally thought that someone invented it recently, but it was a product of a cooperation between various chemical companies back in 1960. And it wasn't introduced into automobile industry until 2000. But it's a different formula. And these 6 companies I talked about helped develop that formula specifically for the modern paints. Now, it worked great, especially good on enamel on the older cars. They didn't have a protective coating. That creates a protective coating for them.
So this is good on enamel cars.
Yeah.
What about just plain lacquer cars like your show cars, where they have multiple stages, where you have the base coat, you have your metallic, your custom coat, and then your clear coat? Will this work on those applications? And also will it work on the early vintage cars that's a wood base? And what is it, an enamel base, wood base that they put on the wood? Will the ceramic coating work on your vintage vehicles also?
I haven't found any information that says ceramic coating doesn't work on all surfaces. If there's a problem with it with the older paint jobs, it hasn't shown up in writing yet.
Okay, so would you agree with this? That if you're going to try a product, let's just take this one for argument's
Right,
sakes, okay? And I read the label, it says ceramic liquid wax, it's hybrid, whatever that means, okay? Because now you get fine print,
That
hybrid
means-
as opposed to regular.
Excuse me, but that means that there is some conventional wax in it.
That's what I was going to get to. Now, people don't read labels. Now,
I was going to say, that goes back to the first thing we all
the
said,
fir-
read the label.
Right,
Right.
they don't understand that. Right, so you have to research. Now, let's say the labels don't always clearly identify what the product is specifically designed for. And I love the saying, well, I thought it would work,
Yeah.
right?
That's why Leonard always says, try a little spot
Yes,
somewhere
I learned that.
before you
Do
know,
the whole
smear
thing,
it over
destroy it.
everything.
Before you
Yeah.
destroy it, destroy
Yeah,
a section of it.
Try a little spot.
The other thing is, McGuire's has polishes that are not intended to make your car beautiful. If you have damaged paint, you would get this product to help.
Is that the one you're holding up now?
Well, there's more of them. Yes,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
only one of them. This is fine cut, then there's heavy cut and medium cut.
All right, explain what you mean by fine, medium, and heavy cut. Most of the people don't understand the different types of compounds or rubbing solutions for problems.
Well, that indicates how much grit is in the polish. What those waxes are for is when you have damaged paint, 9 times out of 10, you can fix the damage if it's scratches by using a combination of these, starting with the most abrasive and working down to the least abrasive.
So basically, you're talking, if you want to use common sense, sandpaper.
Yeah.
Different grades of sandpaper.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
And that's what they mean by the grit and by
Yeah.
fine, medium. So you can relate to very coarse sandpaper for hard, like wood finishes, to get it down smooth, or a polishing sandpaper. We used to do wet and dry. We'd mix with water, it acts as a lubricant for fine polishing, take out very fine, minute type surfaces.
Right.
If you never used it before, do you suggest that somebody who wants to do it themselves for the first time, how about if they come down to the museum and talk to some of the volunteers that are doing the cars to give them good information? It's a place to come for information and knowledge. That's another purpose of the museum, and that's what's great about NAM, National Automobile
Well,
Museum.
if I happen to be here on that day, I'd be glad to talk to anybody about what they want to do with their paint. However, I would also point out to them that I wet sanded a 1939
Yeah,
Cadillac.
good point, yeah. Tell
And
them first
I
the
wet-
condition that you got it in.
Yeah, it came in. It was given to us,
Donation.
donation for the collection.
And we do take donations.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it had been painted but never rubbed out, so it was full of orange peel and dust pits. I had to wet sand the whole car down
Now, what kind of sandpaper did you use?
I used water-soluble handpaper, different grits. I started out with the heavy grit, not the most heaviest. I started out with a,
Like 220, 500?
yeah, I think it was a 2500 grit.
And the lower the number, if you're looking at sandpaper, the grittier it is, the more abrasive
Right.
it is. The higher the
same as
number.
this, too, yeah.
Go ahead, explain that.
Oh, it's like I always tell everybody, just don't go over and pick one of these off the shelf. You start, because as Leonard trained me and explained to me, it's like 1 to 9, for example, but 9 is the least grit. So you would start like with 9 and work down with 1 being
Oh,
the
good point.
heaviest.
Yeah, I never knew that. Yeah,
It's a reverse of what you would think. Like you think 1 would be the least, and then 9 would be the really rough stuff, and it's the opposite in that. So,
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend to the average person to use any of these without being trained. And if they're going to do that, then they should pick a spot on the car that's not going to be seen very well and experiment with bringing it down, taking the heavy grit, getting the scratches out, bringing it back up, and polishing it, and what does it look like? And if you did it right, then you could start working on the part of the car that needs it. But I would take it to a professional detailer.
it pays.
Yeah, especially if it's a big job, because I spent 400 hours on that car.
But it came out like a mirror.
Yep,
It
it
came
did.
out like a mirror.
And I swore I'd never do it again.
All right, let's move up a little bit. But the main thing is that if you're going to detail your car, we're talking about just paint. First, find out what type of paint is on the vehicle.
Yeah,
Find out from the manufacturer. Now, we're using McGuire's here. It's not saying anything bad about the other companies. The key word that you said before is do what? Read
The
the
label.
label.
Yeah.
All right? And if you're not sure, do not think. If you don't know it, find out until you do know
Know
it.
it.
Do your
no
homework.
guesswork. That's right.
Yeah.
And you can find out information on YouTube or, like I said before, come down to the museum. There's always people working, doing the detailing the car. Right? My 2 guests here are more than happy to socialize, and they'll give you the right information. And it won't cost you a penny, except the admittance fee to the museum, which is well worth it. Let's talk about the metals now, getting away from the paints. We have brass, we have nickel silver, we have copper, all right? And all these, some people say, well, let's clear coat them, which means put a finish over it, a clear coat finish like your 2-stage paint. Well, let's leave it natural. What's the advantages and disadvantages, and what kind of chemicals do you use on the early brass, silver, and copper?
well, I wouldn't, my recommendation would be to never clear coat brass or copper or nickel silver. I know men who had their brass clear coated because they didn't want to keep polishing it. However, if your car is out in the sun a lot, the clear coat doesn't stick to the metal like it does to paint. And it starts to peel and it looks really ugly
In no time.
in no time at all. And to get it all off is very expensive.
So it does more damage than good.
Right. And
Susie, how do you feel? I don't mean to
I
cut.
feel
How
the
do you
same
feel
way,
about it?
because I take care of the copper Rolls Royce here, and
Okay.
it's like it's really just like the little sponge and put it on, and it's not abrasive, and you can bring it back, and it looks good, and it gets rid of somebody if they touched it and
Yeah.
everything like that, which is the main issue I always have.
It's the
People
oils
like
from
to-
the skin that
yeah,
cause
they
the
like to touch
deterioration.
the copper, but I mean, I agree with you on that. I'd rather work with the metal and bring it back than to say, oh, we'll put a clear coat on.
In other words,
then we
don't
don't
cheat
have
the
to
job
worry.
because I'm lazy.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, that's
especially-
well, you know,
exactly.
people don't realize that the oil in your skin, if you touch a spot on your car every day and you keep doing that spot, eventually the oil on your skin will eat the paint away. That's why we're so hard on guests that want to touch
Yeah,
the
that
car.
touch.
They have to.
Yeah.
They get fingerprints
Yeah.
all over. it.
Right. And
And
so
by
the,
the same token, like has Leonard trained me, when I work on the copper Rolls Royce, I'm wearing gloves. They're black rubber gloves.
That's a good point too you brought
And
up.
but I never have my bare hands on there, so.
And if you're going to do detail in your car, you should wear a latex glove of some sort
Yes.
to protect
Yes,
yourself because
exactly.
these are chemicals. They
Correct.
can be possibly toxic.
Yeah, I also want to point out one thing. The reason we have McGuire products is that one time McGuire's was a sponsor of the museum.
Oh.
And we received all of our McGuire products free of charge. They're no longer a sponsor. When the company was sold, it went to 3M, and they don't sponsor us. But we continue to use it because it's a good product. That doesn't mean the others are not.
Exactly. That's what we're bringing
Okay,
out.
and you can get ratings on the various products, and that's the kind of research you should do,
You definitely should do it.
yeah, before you buy stuff.
It's like finding out the side effects. Take this pill, right? So it'll cure this one little immediate problem, but it
Right.
gives you a set of
Oh,
50 other
exactly, yeah.
possibilities of the damage it's going to do.
Absolutely.
Right. So very good point. Let me ask you, getting off topic, Santa, what was the most challenging job besides the Cadillac that you, Susie, faced and succeeded in accomplishing that made you walk away with a smile?
I have to tell you, I have to go back to the copper rolls
Okay.
because this Rolls Royce is a real challenge. And it went off-site to like a show, and apparently it was parked underneath a car or a tree that had like sap droppings in that.
good point.
So when it actually came back, even with my gloves on, I could go across the finish and you could feel little bumps and everything. And I had to work on it continuously, not once or twice or three times, but keep working on it because I didn't want to go down to the bare metal because it's copper plated on it, which is thin. And I just had to keep working on it to reduce them. And that was my challenge. I spent more time on doing that than I have on any other car. And then you said something that caught me. I have one car that has water spots that I've never been able to get off. It's like down low. And you were talking about, I'm not sure what's on it. I don't know if that Gia is clear coated or what.
No, it's not.
It's
enamel.
not. So I would like to know what you were talking about when you said the waters.
Okay, the product that I found, and we tried it here in one of the other cars, it was the chemical guys, and it's called hard water spot remover.
Hard water.
Hard water spot
Okay.
remover. That's what you get from the sprinkler system, the amount of
Yeah.
calcium that's in the water.
Okay.
And the problem is when that gets on the vehicle, if it stays and the sun hits it, it bakes it into the finish. That's the chemical. What this is designed to do is take that off without damaging the clear coat finish on the vehicle itself. And it's just a liquid, it's not an abrasive, but it must be some kind of a chemical compound in that to remove the water spots without damaging the vehicle. But again, Leonard brought it out, you brought it out. Do a sample spot first. First, always, especially when you try out a new product.
You know, one of the things here in Reno Sparks, we have harsh weather. And if you drive around here long enough, you're going to see many cars where the clear coat has been eaten right off the paint. Mostly that occurs around here because people don't take the snow off of their cars after it snows. They leave it on the roof, on the trunk lid, on the hood,
Right.
and snow is not pure. It picks up pollutants when it's forming in the clouds, and when it lands on your car, if you leave it there to melt, it will slowly eat your clear coat right off your paint.
So take care of it right away.
So take care of it right away. Push it off. It takes 10 minutes.
All right, I want to go. We're closing up now, but there's one controversy that I'd love to do, especially with the Grinch over here. Is the California Duster. We had to get in. So we're going to finish up with the pros and cons of California Duster. Leonard is an advocate of the California Duster only because it came from California.
That's right. And if it said New York, you'd love it.
I'd use it every day.
The problem with California dusters is the people that buy them don't read the label,
Again, home run.
Thank
okay,
you.
and they
Yeah.
misuse them. They use them like a mop. That's not what they're intended to do. California dusters are included to dust. You flick the dust off. The duster has an electrostatic compound on it that picks up the dust. It's particularly difficult here because our dust is not normal. It's silica dust from the desert. That's sand, and that stuff scratches like heck.
Abrasive, like that's why I don't like the California duster, because of the abrasiveness of the sand that we have. Because I've seen people use it. They'll take the duster and they'll do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Explain the right way of doing it.
The right way to do it is, well, I'm right-handed, but I could do it left-handed.
You're
Is you
ambidextrous.
take it and you keep the fabric just slightly above the paint, and you flick it like this.
Yeah.
And the electrostatic picks up the dust.
But you're not rubbing it into
But
the
you're not
finish.
rubbing
like
it into
rubbing
the
it
paint.
away. Yeah.
And that's the secret to the California duster. I'll wager that when a person dusts their house, they don't rub it like a mop. They just go along soft. Well, you do that with the same with a car. Now, we do it here because even though the majority of the cars do not leave the museum, there's still a certain amount of dust that gets through the air conditioning system. And if we don't dust them before we wipe them down with final inspection, it'll scratch.
You're rubbing the dust into the finish.
Right,
Yeah.
you're just rubbing it right in. And we had a fire here a few years ago, and they cleaned the system out, the air conditioning system, but there's still some residue. And the cars that are parked under the registers sometimes get this black finish.
It's in the ductwork.
It's
Can't
in
get
the
it out.
ductwork. And you got to get that off before you try to rub it down.
What I do with the dusting is I hose down the car. I just take a fine stream, cold
Okay.
water, out of the sun. Make sure a key word is the car has to be room temperature, not sun temperature. Never put a finish on a car in the direct sunlight.
Right.
I hose off the car to get the fine dust off it, and I just give it a quick towel dry. Is there anything you'd like to finish up with? Any comment or any advice to give to our listeners?
About
Yes,
the
please.
California duster.
Yes, please.
When we were just talking about reading the label, I recently got a new one within the last year, and when it came, I read the label, and it said the first thing that you do before you use it, take it out of the plastic bag, wrap it in newspaper, and leave it there for a couple of days. And
Really?
if there's some kind of chemical in it, it will absorb it. And you'll see it on the newspaper. It like takes it out
Oh.
because, you know, you want to eliminate that because you would be putting it on the car.
Great
and
point.
it made a big difference. And then, like Leonard always said, periodically when I'm using it, you slam it on the back of your
Bang it just to get the
yeah,
dust
my
out of the
foot.
particles.
I lift my foot and on the
perfect.
sole of my shoe. That's the way you taught
Yeah.
me, and it shakes out all that loose stuff. That's why I like it as much as he
You
does.
use it,
and that so.
I learned, and talking to another one of the docents here, Daryl, he's been there forever.
Right.
And when I came out here, you never saw California dusters back east. I mean, I didn't hear about them until I moved out here. So you didn't see them back then. It was just never used.
The same thing.
right?
Yeah, I
So
agree with you.
he
yeah.
told me that you put it in your dusting because of the silica, the sand, the high abrasiveness of the desert sun, it does more damage than good. And that's why I've always been against it, because I remember what he told me,
Yeah.
being a newbie out in the desert environment, learning why and how I have to prepare and preserve the finish on my vehicles.
Right.
Right? You have anything to say in closing for us? I hate to cut it short. In closing, what would you like to comment?
I think people need to take better care of their cars. It's a big investment. No one ever made money buying cars. But the cleaner you keep it, the better it's going to work for you, including mechanical stuff.
Exactly.
changing the oil and the
Right,
various
maintenance,
fluids.
just like our bodies. We have to do the
Right.
maintenance to keep it 100% efficient.
That's right. If you're going to spend $45,000 for a car, you should take care of it.
Right.
And if you want to know how to do that and you don't know anybody that's in the business, come by and say hello. We'll be glad to talk to you about it.
Right. And Suze, what would you like to say in
I
conclusion?
agree with what Leonard is saying 100%, but I also have to add, I love volunteering here, and I think this is a fabulous place for men, women, and children to visit because there's something here for everybody to see and really appreciate the automobiles.
Right. And also, the camaraderie that we have, we're more like a family.
We
I consider
are a
it. It's a
family.
family.
Yeah.
We have
are.
more fun
Yeah.
teasing
Yeah.
and working together and the feeling of accomplishment when you're done. And what's great about being a volunteer here at the museum is you're not on a time schedule. You elect to come in at your convenience. You elect what
Exactly.
projects, what events, what criteria that you want to get involved in. So come on down. Check us out.
Yeah.
We're happy to meet you. We're more than glad to answer any questions that you have. And if we don't have the answer, we will find out the right
The
answer
right answer.
the first
Yeah.
time.
And he's really a nice guy. He's not a Grinch.
Yes, he is.
No,
I know.
he's not.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed our cast. Leonard, Susie, I really appreciate it. And hopefully have you on the show again.
Thanks
So-
for
Thank
inviting
you.
us.
All right. So
This
have
has
a
been
great
fun.
night, and we'll see you on the next series. Bye.
Bye.